I think G2 overall is just trying a lot of stuff right now. They just seem to underperform a bit. But I still think they are the best team in Europe, and I still think they have the best players in Europe, maybe except for top lane.
생각하거든요. 그래서 뭐 H2K라고 해서 뭐 조심해야 되고 무섭고 이런 거 하나도 없고.
I think they're still centered on being an individualistic team. They will just play around who needs to get rolling and who's the strong person there.
양코스 스타일이 갱킹 좀 많이 하는 스타일인데 그거를 시도를 많이 하다 보니까 자연스럽게 퍼블도 잘 나오고 그렇게 된 거.
He's the best right now, but I don't think he's much better than me, and I think I can match him in the game. We are in good spot to beat them.
Welcome to the European LCS, coming to you live from Berlin, Germany. We're halfway through week 7 of our summer split. We are continuing to celebrate the coaches that make European League great again. Now, as the fans were taking their seats, we saw Giants walking in. Of course, they have something to make up for yesterday, not the best performance by them. But the UOL fans can be happy with a 2-0 start with their team on day 1, as they are always excited. There we see the Unicorns themselves with their coach Shipi in a huddle. Good evening, everyone. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, joined at the analyst desk by James Stress O'Leary and Andrew Verius Day. Excited about day 2 of Coaches Week because day 1 was very informative. We learned that Prolly used to work at a crab shack, which helps him be a coach. So, you know, what else do you need?
And some nicknames. We learned some good nicknames.
Yes, we did.
First time on the desk for Coaches Week this split for me. I'm a little intimidated by the coaches watching, looming over us, but hopefully they will share some wisdom throughout the day.
Right, Yamato?
That's not really a Yamato gift.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at how the standings are shaking up at this point in the split. The top 3 is still unchanged. G2, Fnatic, and Splyce. Fnatic 1 point only behind G2 though, but Schalke has dropped a bit due to yesterday's result.
Yeah, it looks like that we have a pretty solid top 3 right now, with Splyce making their way into that bracket, and if they get a big win today over Giants, they could be making their way into 2nd place.
Yeah, we had a couple of 2-0s yesterday, and some results that really kind of shrunk the leads in the middle of the pack as well. Unicorns picking up some important points to keep them right on the Giants' heels, who have been surging themselves.
Yep, and Origin and Roccat still in dire straits, have to pick up some wins as well. Throughout the day, we are going to be joined by the coaches of the LCS for picks and bans, expert insight, and much more. And for all of this week's special content, hit up eu.lolesports.com/coachesweek. A lot of cool stuff over there and a lot of good insight, hopefully, today on the desk. Now, let's take a look at the matches on the slate. Today, we're going to start things off with the Unicorns of Love taking on Vitality in the arena, while Splyce are facing Giants in the studio.
That's going to be a super high matchup. Giants versus Splyce, fighting for those places at the top of the table for the, playoff spots, and some other interesting games as we go throughout the day.
Yeah, and Origin, Roccat, both of them don't need 2-0 right now. Well, they definitely need the 2-0 ties. Is the worst thing they could possibly get.
Yeah, it always is. And we also have our match of the week between G2 and H2K. We saw that awesome teaser at the beginning between Trick and Jankos. A lot of, excitement there.
Yeah, a lot of excitement, a lot of discussion there as well, where Jankos is saying, well, G2 playing with some mistakes. I mean, maybe don't throw stones in glass houses at the same time as H2K not on the perfect game themselves. We heard a lot from Prolly about that yesterday. So
yeah, exactly.
Should be exciting.
Definitely. Very cool matchup. And after the week's matches are complete, we're going to load into the post-game lobby with some of the minds behind the LCS teams. If you have a question for the coaches, tweet them at LOL Esports and use that hashtag Coaches Week. As said yesterday, we got a lot of interesting insight from the coaches themselves. They always know how to play around with that. Some serious questions. If you want to be a coach yourself, you've ever wanted to be coach?
Well, I had like the tiniest bit of working with the North American team, Dignitas team, not as a coach. Coaches weren't a thing yet. It's a very, if you'll excuse the pun, stressful job. Like trying to manage and play with players is it was very early on in my career, so not something I'd want to do again right now.
All right, well, we'll see. Maybe later in the career. We've got a full night of matches lined up, so let's take a closer look at the first match in the EU LCS arena between the Unicorns of Love and Vitality. Vitality with a 2-0 yesterday over Roccat. That second game, though, they kind of stole it. Sean said it themselves, and also most literally with the Jhin here.
Yeah, Roccat had a great performance in Game 2. Their early game was on point, but they were not expecting that steal to come out from Police. A massive crit from that Jhin fourth shot completely took them by surprise.
Yeah, overall, did they look better?
Game 1, they definitely looked like they had a lot more control over the game. It was nice to see them working a lot more as a unit. But again, it was against Roccat, who we know have been underperforming a lot throughout the weeks. And I think that with Unicorns of Love improving very rapidly, they're going to have a tough road ahead of them.
Big improvement yesterday for the Unicorns. I think the one thing that you can say about the Unicorns' performance is that they were actually fairly clean, which is not something we normally come to say for the Unicorns of Love throughout history. And one of the biggest things that we felt that was a big boon for the Unicorns yesterday was Hylissang's performance. He got his hands on the Bard, still undefeated on that Bard as well. And honestly, he's been improving steadily throughout the split, but I still don't really feel like he's quite where he was when he joined the league all the way back last spring.
Yeah, exactly. Chachi and Hylissang are the two players we look at as being kind of the backbone of that team, but when it has come out from Chachi this split at several times, not as much from Hylissang. We know that he's very tied to that Bard, it seems, as he's 5-0 on that, but then 0-5 on Karma. And this time he is up against Kasing in this matchup. And I feel like it's a similar story for the both of them, not reaching the same heights yet as we are known.
There was so much hype behind Kasing not that long ago when earlier on this year, his performances along with Hyanan have been very impressive. But ever since with the introduction of Police, he has been slowly working his way back to his former glory, and having bring out what to him sounded like a comfort pick in the Morgana yesterday. I think we could see some interesting stuff today.
And exactly what you were alluding to as well, Sharks, is normally we pick a featured matchup for two players that are on the top of their game. This is actually one where we feel both players have been underperforming this split, and one of the two of them is really going to need to step up in this series, we think, if their teams are going to try and secure 3 points towards playoffs.
Yep, very much needed 3 points. And meanwhile, in the studio, we have Giants facing Splyce. Both surging teams up until yesterday, a little bit of a speed bump, albeit a smaller speed bump for Splyce, 1-on-1 versus G2, and they did take them down in Game 1 very convincingly and could have taken Game 2.
Splyce looked great yesterday, really solid, and you know, we heard a lot of comments about how some of the coaches think Splyce are kind of around that second spot in the league, and really solid performance Game 1, taking it to G2 Esports. And as you said, they could maybe have won Game 2. It was all about an over-aggressive play under the mid tower that Splyce made, and ultimately it punished them. They could never really recover from it, and G2 showed up as we know that G2 could. So Splyce, great improvements coming into this week.
Meanwhile, for Giants in Week 6, we thought that they were going to be looking like one of those top 3 teams that a lot of people have been hyping them up for, but then up against Unicorns of Love, they just got straight up outplayed. One of the big reasons for that was their drafting. We did critique whether or not the Karma in the mid and the Kassadin coming out from Knight really enabled him to be that performer and carry. Taking away the Zilean, taking away the Azir definitely has affected Giants that they need to fix coming into today.
It's been affecting their champ pool. Splyce have found the same kind of thing with a couple of picks. But speaking of that Kassadin, seeing it yesterday from both teams, Splyce have played a lot of Kassadin as well. Contested pick in this matchup. I feel like Splyce have maybe used it better than Giants.
Well, I mean, it does seem that Senkirk's is that Void King, bringing out the Malzahar and the Kassadin. All he's got left is that Vel'Koz left to bring out. So maybe he'll bring it out today.
Maybe we'll see it today. Well, for that game between Splyce and Giants, tune into EU LCS 2. And for the UOL versus Vitality, you can go ahead over to EU LCS 1 or watch both at the same time. But for now, it is time to send it over to our casters.